What's up, comic book fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, back with another action figure review. This time I'm taking a look at the Marvel Legends Figure 2-pack of Claire Temple and Luke Cage. So here's the bottom front of the packaging. There is the show logo. It says Luke Cage and Claire Temple, and there is the Hasbro logo. We get product information on the bottom. And on the top, we get this partial window. On one side of the packaging, we get artwork of Claire Temple. On the opposite side of the packaging, we get some really cool artwork of Luke Cage. On the back, we get this superb product shot of Luke and Claire. There's also a brief biography of the duo on the back in 4 different languages. The English version says, when Luke Cage meets Nurse Claire Temple, he discovers that even a bulletproof man sometimes needs someone to help him keep it together. Here are the figures seen through the front window, and I think this is really attractive. I like the fact that you can see both figures very well, including the feet. Now, some mint-in-box collectors, they like figures like this to be posed more dynamically within the box. Now, if I were keeping these in the box, that wouldn't bother me too much at all. One thing that I did notice here, other than the watch, which I think is removable, but I don't know for sure, I guess I'll know in a minute, all of the accessories seem to go to Claire. But with no further ado, now it's time to bust this figure out of the package and see what's inside. Here is the inner cardboard tray that you may want to use for a diorama. Here we have the figures removed from the outer packaging, but still in the inner plastic. And here we see Luke and Claire out of the package and ready to rumble. Although most of the accessories do go to her, I think that the Luke Cage figure is a slightly better figure. But nonetheless, there's a lot to like about both of these figures. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the loose details now. Let's get a look at the lower body on Luke Cage, and there's a lot to like here. Lots of good sculpting. You can see the individual shoelaces here. I certainly appreciate that. See the tread on the shoes. I like that a lot. Now there is movement here, so that's pretty good, although the jeans block it a little bit from going up. So there's limited articulation going forward. There is a little bit of rocking back and forth, so I appreciate that. The jeans look really good. I mean, look at all these wrinkles that have been sculpted in. I like the color choice. Double jointed knees, by the way, so you can get them in a good running pose. As for the rest of the lower body, the detail goes all the way around. That looks really good. You can see the pocket sculpted in back here. You do get this upper quadriceps swivel, and it doesn't look bad since it's a pair of jeans. I mean, the inseam doesn't line up, so, I mean, that's a minor complaint, but it doesn't look as weird as some other characters when you decide to articulate the leg. In terms of articulation, you can get him to kick forward really high. I appreciate that. That looks really good. You get him to do a side kicking motion about that far, so that's not bad. You can get him to step back just a little bit. I mean, honestly, that's sufficient. It doesn't go back very far, though, because of the hip area. But even though this is like, a basic civilian design, just basic shoes and jeans, I still think this looks really good. So let's have a look at the torso here. And yes, it's just a basic yellow t-shirt, but I still think the sculpting is just magnificent here. You see all these wrinkles that have been sculpted in, both on the front and the back here, and they look to flow the way that wrinkles do on a t-shirt. Obviously, the t-shirt's tighter up here around the pectoral area, as it should be, since Luke Cage is such a huge character. But this just looks really good, very realistic. In terms of articulation, there's pivoting back and forth here at the waist. You can get him to rock back and forth at the upper torso. This is my only minor complaint here, is that this area is a little smooth, so it does look a little weird when you articulate the torso like this. But other than that, I'm just very impressed with what Hasbro did here. So let's have a look at the arms here. And overall, I like them. I think there's good definition in the musculature. You get a bicep swivel, so I certainly like that. I feel like maybe they're just a tad undersized. Like maybe they could be just a little bit bigger. Although you do get double jointed elbows here. So that's really impressive in terms of articulation. You can get the arms to go around 360 degrees. And again, there's this good sculpting here on the sleeves. But I just feel like maybe the arms are just a little too small. So, and answered the question here about the watch. If you take the hand off, you can get the watch to slip off as well. Let's have a look at the head sculpt now. And I think it's good, but I don't think it's great. When you turn the figure to one side or the other, I think it looks like spot on Mike Colter. But when you look at it from the front, something is just a little off. I'm not sure what I attribute that to. Like if you look at it like that, that looks really good. But straight on, something just seems like a little off, maybe about the shape of the head. But that's a minor complaint, I guess. Looking at it from the side, it looks really good. There's not a huge gap here in the neck, as with some figures. Back of the head looks really good. I like how the ears look. And by the way, there's not flecks of gray in the goatee here. That's just a trick of the light. But overall, this is a decent effort from Hasbro on this head sculpt. Now let's have a look at Miss Claire Temple. So here's the lower body, and she's in civilian clothes, as you can see. She has on some kind of loafers here. There is ankle articulation. She's not a huge character, and this is accurate. You do get double jointed knees, so if you want to get her in a running pose, you can. So that's appreciated. The figure has a quadricep swivel, and once again, since she's wearing jeans just like Power Man is, it doesn't look weird when you use that point of articulation. So that's helpful. Although I will say, even though she has pretty good articulation as far as kicking forward, she's limited in kicking outward. I was a little surprised by that. So you can get her to step back a little bit. So that's not bad. But I'm just surprised that the legs only go out that far. So there are some negatives with the lower body, but overall it's not bad. Let's have a look at the torso now. And it's a basic shirt again. So there's not, a lot of paint detail or anything like that because that's not necessary. We do get some sculpting on the side here, these wrinkles sculpted in. So I certainly appreciate that. Get more of that on the back here. So it looks pretty good. I will say I wish there were some lower torso articulation. There is not. There is in the upper torso here. I think mine's especially tight. I can get her to crunch forward at the upper torso this much, and I can get her to rock back this much, but I feel like maybe most figures will have a little better articulation in this area. Here she is with the pocketbook slung across the shoulder, so I like the way that looks. I was able to get this strand of hair up. It's pretty pliable, and just get it situated like that. And so, yeah, that looks really realistic. I like the paint on the buckles, so that certainly looks good. Let's get a look at the arms here, and they're very basic, but that's understandable for the character because, again, we're talking about a normal-sized person wearing long sleeves. So I do like the articulation here at the elbow. You get it here at the wrist as well. Obviously, you can see it here at the shoulder. You can get it to go around 360 degrees. I really kind of like this hand, like she's gesturing, like she's talking. So I just think that looks really good. You get a fist over here. And pretty much the same articulation. I'm surprised that there isn't a bicep swivel. But that's about the only negative that I see in terms of the way that the arms are constructed. Here she is wielding the claw weapons, which I believe are called tekokage. I think that's what they're called. If I'm mispronouncing that or misidentifying these, I'm sorry, but I believe it's tekokage. But anyway, I do like the way these look. I like the metallic paint that they use. They certainly look like metal. You know, they look good when she's posed with them. I will say this, though. They do have the peg and the hinge right here. But when I put them in, these are both a little on the tight side. So I don't know if that's just my figure. But yeah, you may have to work with them a little bit if you want to have, you know, one of the hands, you know, posed outward or inward. Yeah, so be careful there as well. But I certainly like the way these look. Here she is with the gloved hands, and I really appreciate these. These are very indicative of the character. You know, they speak to the night shift nurse aspect of the character on Netflix. They look realistic. They move better, actually, than the claw hands. But yes, and these are very unique among figures in this line. So I certainly appreciate what Hasbro did with these. So here we have the head sculpt, and I think it's really good. I don't think it's perfect. Again, I think if you have her in profile, it looks more like Rosario Dawson than if you're looking at the figure straight on. But I think the likeness is good, so I don't think that's a huge negative for the figure. I do like the hair a lot, and it is pliable enough to let you turn her head side to side. So I certainly appreciate that. You can get her to look up. You can get her to look down. So good amount of articulation on that. I have a lot of lights on her, so the skin looks a little bit more plastic than it would if you just had her like on a shelf in normal lighting. I actually think the skin looks really good. The eyes aren't lifeless. There's certainly some personality there. The lips look good. So even though I have some minor complaints, I think that Hasbro did an adequate job with the head sculpts on both figures. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this review, and please tell all of your friends about this channel. I would certainly appreciate it. And I'll be back with more Marvel Legends content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.